Yeah, good morning, Lady Mo. How are you doing?
Doing very well. How are you doing too? Hope you had a restful night.
Yes, thank you. It was a restful night.
R-
Thank you.
Right. Great to know that. Saifad, you're welcome to Trends on the Papers.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Without further ado, let's quickly kickstart. The Senate yesterday, on Tuesday, we had the nomination of the former CDS. That's the ex-chief of defense staff, Christopher Musa, nominated by the president. And of course, during the screening yesterday, during the plenary session at the Senate, he was asked a couple of questions. He was screened and, of course, approved now as the Minister of Defense. And we had several cross questions, though earlier on, according to an EPC senator in Niger State, Sonny Musa, who had moved the motion for him to take a bow and leave. Definitely, the Senate president had to wade in, and it's because it is a very serious issue, security matters, and so a lot was said right yesterday, even by the former CDS, the ex-chief of defense staff, mentioning a couple of things, right? Yesterday, he talked about no negotiation with or payment of ransom to terrorists in the country, saying that Nigeria's fight against insecurity would remain ineffective until the country establish a unified national database and capture every citizen in link all security, banking, and identity systems together. He's saying that no negotiations with the terrorists. He spoke about a lot of things. He talked about the cooperation, working local government, state government, collaboration of the governors. He talked about funding. He talked about even recruitment. He talked about the weapons. He talked about even forces in the armed forces, that are undermining and sabotaging. They are going to work on it. And also the issue of MAGA, the girls' school, about the troops that were withdrawn before the terrorists had to strike. He talked about forming a committee when he assumed office to making sure that they investigate the situation. He talked about even the database, that we need a working database, funding, intelligence, a lot, which to tackle this very insecurity issue. About his assignment, why he was called, and he has been nominated and approved to be the Minister of Defense side forward. Let's start from there first. The whole screening process, the nomination, the choice in itself, and the approval side forward. Of course, the session, the whole cross questioning and all that.
Okay, well, before I give my analysis, I want to appeal to you to play.
Okay.
My mind tells me that maybe one or two words about I've seen or I've missed that soundbite from the Senate president. Something I actually want to bring out of what the Senate president said when one of the senators had moved a motion for him to just take a bow and go, as the screening was about to comment.
Okay. All right.
That's how the soundbite.
All right. I'll play that, and I also play just a bit of what General Musa also mentioned, so you can give analysis. All right. I'll be back.
Standing in front of us could be regarded as a solution to the current insecurity in the country. And we are not here on our own. We are here representing our constituents. And our constituents would like to hear from him whether his appointment will enable them to sleep well, whether their children will be safe in schools. So we are not asking him questions because we don't like him. We're asking him questions because our constituents would have loved to ask him questions at a time like this. So if we come here and we do politics of bow and go, this is not a period we should say bow and go. Even Donald Trump is on our neck. We have not yet asked him what his response will be to Donald Trump, the president of America. He is not just anybody. Chief of defense staff, a nominee for Minister of Defense of a country, and you stand up and say you should take a bow and go, with so many questions on the mouth of Nigerians, with over 200 Nigerian children in the bush, kidnapped and being tortured. His appointment is heralded all over Nigeria with happiness because Nigerians believe he has something to offer. Give the man an opportunity to give Nigerians hope.
The terrorists that we're dealing with think Nigeria is so rich that when they come to Nigeria, they can make it. So anything they're doing anywhere, their target, end state, is to come into Nigeria. And that's why it's important that we must make sure that we secure our borders and deny them the entry. And then those ones that are within, we're able to take them out. There will be zero policy on anything banditry, terrorism. We're going to go out and make sure that the armed forces will go fully all out, working together with the locals. Because like I said, sir, security is localized. We don't carry the communities along. We're going to continue to run issues. So that's why it's important that we must bring them together, working with the state governments particularly. Why the Southwest seem to be doing very well, sir, is because all the governors agreed together. And that's why regionally, governors must come together, because 2, 3 are better than 1. And that's why for us to them to understand that the bandits do not respect border. They do not at all. They are, in fact, where they get their strength is their ability to run when you attack them, especially around Sokoto area.
All right, because of our time, Said Fuad, I mean, he spoke about several issues, right? Said Fuad, he wanted to pick a thing from what Apabi had mentioned.
Yeah, okay.
The issue of not playing politics, I'm sure.
Well, you know, for the first time, I saw the Nigerian Senate, you know, behaving, carrying out their function in the way they should. We've always talked about the fact that this National Assembly has not shown enough seriousness and commitment to nation building as the legislative arm of government. It's always been jokes, it's always been high-level, you know, politicking, without any seriousness and commitment to the function of being the legislative arm of government. But you can see, and you see, when we talk about some of these things, it is because, again, we want a better country. We expect that we can be, you know, better coordinated as a people and better run ourselves and administer ourselves as an independent nation under God. This is 26 years of democracy. One would expect that there should have been major development with our political experiment and democratic experiment, you know, if you ask me. You know, again, we've complained about this idea of the president sending ministerial nominee or nominations of any kind without portfolios attached to it. Yesterday, you could see that the Senate was able to properly grill
and direct specific questions about this specific matter, which is insecurity.
Because the man that was standing before them was a man that was being nominated with a clear portfolio. So they knew who they were talking to. They knew the job that he was going to be given. And so it was easy for them to direct questions. In fact, I'm sure a lot of them would have done a lot of research. They had a lot to say. And so it was beautiful to see, you know, the entire screening exercise of this, who is now the current Minister of Defense, General Musa, retired. And that's what we've always called for. That's what we've always advocated for. That, look, let us learn to do things properly. Let us learn to do things in a more methodical, more coordinated way. Again, following global best practices. A lot of times when you argue, should be in some other places too. Why are you always, you know, happy to pick the wrong things in other places? Why are you not always happy to learn and copy the right things they do in those places? You understand what I'm saying? So again, it was nice to see that, look, this issue of insecurity in the country and the appointments or the nomination of General Musa, who is now the Minister of Defense, since the Senate has ratified his appointment, was attended to with the seriousness that he deserves. Again, you know, this one affects everybody. Nobody is safe. So one would expect that they also understand that, look, it's not just about poor and ordinary Nigerians who they are also affected. You can see that the so-called VIPs are also complaining, if you understand what I'm saying. And again, look at what the Senate President also said. That, look, we can't be playing the politics of buy and go. So they also understand that this side, you can see that he said it, I don't know, this is not the time to play the politics of buy and go.
So it's an acceptance that they have been playing politics when it comes to
this idea of buy and go is just useless, completely useless idea of politics with the lives of the people. You see that the president himself was able to, and he also talked about, Donald Trump is still on our neck. You see, the fear of Donald Trunk, can you see?
It's the beginning of sitting tight.
He said it now that even Donald Trump is still on our neck. We need to ask him what his response will be to Donald Trump. You know, if there's one man that I think Akpabio is so afraid of talking about, it has to be Donald Trump. The last time they told him to say something about the threat of Donald Trump, I said, me talk to Donald Trump, where am I? You know, very unfortunate that, look, it had to take, you know, Donald in the country. We have been saying, there was nothing Donald Trump said that other Nigerians have not been complaining about. These targeted killings of Christians, persecution of Christians, killings of ordinary Nigerians, the widespread insecurity, the fact that the government is not doing enough. So maybe the only we cannot do that. You know, so again, we would beg the Nigerian government at all levels, Mr. President, governors, you know, local government chairmen, everybody that Nigerians have submitted their right and sovereignty to govern them, to please learn to always do the right thing. When it comes to governance, let politics take the back seat. You can play politics when it's time to campaign for elected positions. But when it comes to doing the job of nation building at all levels, can we appeal again to everyone that has been elected to lead Nigerians to understand that, look, it is very important to do the right thing, you know, and follow and copy global best practices. We saw that yesterday. It was a robust engagement. You could see that the questions were spot on. Look, a session that took almost 4 hours, maybe more.
Right.
And that's how it's supposed to be. So, again, Jᴏɪṛ Musa appears to be a man that a lot of Nigerians love, maybe more, whether you like it or not. In fact, across all political divide, across all ethnic groups, across all spheres of life, there was something very instructive about this appointment by the president. Jᴏɪṛ Musa seems to have the love of the people, and we are hoping that this love that Nigerians have shown to him, and the belief that they've extended to him, that he has a capacity to deliver for Nigeria when it comes to fighting insecurity, would help him to settle in on the job, hit the ground running. It's not new to the entire security formation of the country.
Right. And
I also like his position, and like I've discussed with you severally, Lady Mo, it has been said severally that Jᴏɪṛ Musa's position has always been no to negotiations, no to ransom payments, no to any kinds of talk with these terrorists. That he has always maintained that position. In fact, there are people who have said that, look, he has also been having issues with some other senior security, personnel of the country because of his hard stand on the fact that, look, we cannot continue to negotiate with these people. We have to go after them, and that the only repentant terrorist is the one that is killed. And I agree. So he repeated the same thing yesterday. If you listen to the soundbite, where he said that, look, my own position is that we cannot continue to pay ransom. We cannot continue to negotiate. We have to go take the fight to these guys, sustain the fight.
Right.
And that is the spirit. That is what Nigerians want to hear. And we are hoping that we will, as a nation, as a people, and as a government, match those words with action. So it was nice to see we are hoping, because again, I was telling Mᴏᴜ on the media politics yesterday, but Curtis put out a statement on his Facebook page, and I said, I agree completely that, look, this is the time for every Nigerian, irrespective of the political divide, irrespective of your ethnic nationality, to support the president and the government in this fight against terrorism. This is not about politics. This is not about ethnicity. We are all involved. We are all affected.
Right.
You understand? Yes, it affects everybody, and this is not the time to play politics or begin to say you hate or you love somebody. If the president is doing the right thing, let us support him. With this appointment, we think the president has done the right thing. We are hoping that the performance will now match the expectations of Nigeria.
Right.
We are hoping that it's not just going to be all talk without action. A lot of Nigerians, I particularly, will still demand that the Minister of State for Defense should be sacked, the NSA should be removed and redeployed to another place where he can face his politics. Let us also get professionals to man these other positions so that we can have a more coordinated approach to fighting these monsters. We will not allow Nigerians rest.
Right. Thank you, Said Fuad. Still speaking about this issue of insecurity and the efforts so far taken, and especially the clamor for the sponsors and financiers of terrorism. Right. Yesterday, during this plenary session, the National Assembly also called for the public naming and prosecution of terrorism financiers in Nigeria, as the federal government also is exploring the measures to address the growing insecurity across the country. So both the Senate and the House of Rep, they pushed for the exposure of terrorism financiers during their plenary as a way of also addressing the security crisis facing the country. So they demanded capital punishment for kidnappers and anyone who finances, enables, or provides information to them. And they debated the amendment to the 2022 Terrorism and Prevention and Prohibition Act, which was sponsored by the leader of the Senate, Tʀᴇɪᴅs Iṛ Tဃᴇ, seeking to classify kidnapping, hostage taking, and related crimes as terrorism, and also giving security agencies wider powers to track, disrupt, and prosecute criminal networks across the countryside. I also talked about creating special courts for terrorism. They called for the establishment of a special courts for terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping. As they also sought the strengthening and enforcement of the penalties for a first-line charge to guarantee predictable and timely funding, and all approved security budgets must be fully and promptly disbursed, amongst others.
Well, a lot on the table, a lot of recommendations. And I think for everything that we need to do and anything that can be done to stem the tide of kidnapping, banditry, should be embraced, and we should find a way to implement some of these resolutions. Make them, if we need to get them to be a part of our law, so be it. And then, not just have these laws and not implement them. For example, the issue of capital punishment, a lot of people are still on death row as we speak because our governors refuse to sign up on the death sentence. Even though records have also shown that how heavy a punishment is for an offense does not necessarily deter other people from committing the same offense. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Several research have shown that, look, if you say that before, if somebody commits an offense, they will be put on life sentence. And then you now think that, okay, people have still been committing the offense, you now change it to death sentence. A lot of research has shown that it doesn't mean that people will stop doing that. In fact, you might find more people doing it. So what you need to do is to stop them from even committing the offense. Make it impossible for them to commit the offense in the first place.
Prevention.
If you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Prevention than open to arrest and then begin to prosecute after the offense, the fight to these people. So it's not as if they are attacking and then we are running after them. No. We must not even allow the fight. This is not a time to just do one or two things and then relax. Here we understand how capital intensive it is to sustain this kind of warfare. To sustain military drills, military operations, Air Force operations, costs a lot of money. But again, there must be accountability, because when you look at our budget, a large chunk of the national budget goes into security, defense. So we must see a proper utilization of those money as it's been allocated, so that we cannot begin to match the results that we get with our policies and plans when it comes to the issue of insecurity. So there's a lot on the table. Again, I know that which one goes into the medium-term solution, which one goes into a long-term solution. Some of these things cannot happen overnight. But what must happen immediately is for us to take this fight to these guys.
Right.
Begin to weed them out from our bushes, from our ungoverned spaces, begin to look at how to fortify our borders, begin to see how we can work together within communities to begin to gather intelligence about people accommodating them, supplying them weapons, supplying them with all manner of things. The fight has to be intense and has to be sustained, at least for this period.
Right. Speaking about punishment also as well, aside from the capital punishment, the U.S. is also taking effort to make sure that they are doing something from their side. As yesterday, they announced measures which is aimed at addressing what they describe as mass killings and attacks targeting Christians in Nigeria. And so the move is signaling that the U.S. is considering visa restrictions against individuals and groups implicated in the violence. So they are taking decisive action in response to the mass killings and attacks on Christians carried out by the radical Islamic terrorists, Fulani militias, and other violent groups in Nigeria and even beyond. That's according to the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, in a statement, putting pressure on Nigeria. Aside for it.
Yes, I like the pressure. I like the pressure. If the pressure would get our government to continue to do the right thing, we'll keep them on their toes, and wake them from their slumber. Why not? Let's let the pressure continue. Again, the statement is clear coming to their country. So it doesn't concern people who are not complicit. Once they identify you as being behind maybe financing these things or being supporting of these ideas, whatever the U.S. government wants to do from their own end, it would be also helping us to fight this problem of insecurity. And I think it is commendable, it is appreciated. I like the fact that the pressure is also being sustained by the U.S. government on this issue of insecurity. They call it Christian genocide. I think it's just helping us to fight insecurity generally, because whether you are a Christian or a Muslim, nobody deserves to die.
Right.
The way these terrorists are killing Nigerians.
Thank you very much, Said. For us, still trends in the papers on Mailer 98.3 FM, the Sound of Lagos, with analysis and perspective from Said Fawad and INA's analysts. Just quickly, the Punch newspaper captures about the National Assembly asking the federal government to name terrorism financiers. Page 2 captures that in the Punch newspaper, and also...
the naming of terrorism financiers... again, Nigerians, you notice that a lot of our callers always mention this idea of why can't we release the list that was given to us by UAE.
Yes.
And so, again, the Senate has also now to also back that call for the government to, name and shame these financiers. Why we have not been able to do that, I don't know. I really don't know. If truly there's a list that has gotten the names of Nigerians who are financing terrorism, or maybe the government have also been able to dig up some names based on local intelligence, I think it's time. I also support the call from the Senate that it's time to name and shame these individuals, because again, it should also serve as a form of deterrence.
Right. And also about the U.S. mulling visa ban over the alleged Christian killings in Nigeria. Page 3 captures that in the Punch newspaper. Also, The Guardian has that story on the Senate and Rep adopting the hardline anti-terror measures backing Musa. Page 6 captures that very story. And about the pressure from the U.S., page 6 captures that in the Guardian newspaper as well. The Vanguard also has that very story, of course, because that's, one of the major issues on board in Nigeria. Page 5 captures the statement from the Defense Minister, General Musa, that no more negotiation and ransom payment for terrorists. Page 5 captures that. And also on the U.S. visa ban, page 8 captures in the Vanguard newspaper. Away from that, let's also quickly, let's go still with the Punch newspaper, right? And the political scene. A quick trip to Rivers State, side forward. The Rivers Assembly endorsing Tinubu for second term. They unanimously endorsed the president for second term. That was during their legislative session yesterday. They said that the decision was in appreciation of the numerous federal government projects attracted under his administration. And so they are acknowledging that the vote of confidence in the president became necessary to pave the way for continuity. And they recall that the role played by the president during the intense political crisis in the state, describing it as a fatherly intervention.
I had to struggle, because of the job we do. I saw that yesterday on TV, looking up, away from my, so I thought that it was something serious. So I had to, reduce the radio to, of course, turn up the volume of the TV sets in my office, at least to listen to what they were saying. only for me to see that it was just everybody standing up one after the other to begin to praise the president for his fatherly role, and then just endorse the president. To show you how serious the entire process was, the entire session was. Even the speaker had to tell them, just use 1 minute to say whatever you want to say. Oh God, it's just a waste of time. Because each person was telling you, he did this, he did that. So at a stage, even the speaker knew that, look, this was a process that was just embellished in pure psychophancy. So you have to tell them, when you tell just use 1 minute, you have to pay different national TVs to tell you. They could have just done their thing, but they have to televise it. And part of their resolution, if you read the story very well, was that they also declared total loyalty to Minister of the FCT on weekend. So that is the situation of politics in Rivers State. The State House of Assembly yesterday, had a special session to thank the president, the father of Rivers State, to thank him for the numerous projects that he has given to Rivers State. Apart from projects, they also talked about numerous appointments to sons and daughters from Rivers State.
That is in the belly of the Punch newspaper. We move ahead. We move ahead.
Let's move on.
We move on.
All right. Congratulations to all of them.
Right. The politics of Rivers State already. I don't know why you came.
I don't know.
Still on the political scene, picked any candidates for the 2026 Osun governorship election. That was according to their National Publicity Secretary, Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, in a statement yesterday in Abuja. He had to disown some viral videos and social media posts claiming that ADC had endorsed a candidate for the governorship election, and he said that side forward.
Well, again, interesting times ahead in Osun. Guba elections coming up in 2026. Now that he has decided not to get nominated for re-election under the PDP, have told us that there might be some form of high-level consultations, negotiations, and discussions with the ADC. The idea that the two, that Adeleke cannot work with Adeleke, because if you are looking at the leader of the ADC in Osun, the governorship candidate of the ADC in the next election, there are also other people who have told us about the possibility of Accord Party as a possible option for Adeleke. But the ADC has now come up to say they've not endorsed anybody. Initially, the idea was that they already had a candidate.
Right.
But now that they are saying they've not endorsed anybody, there are people who are speculating that it may just be them creating a window and an opportunity for Adeleke to pick up the ticket of the party. So a lot will still be unraveled in Osun State as the days goes by. So we keep our eyes on what is going on in Osun State, but interesting politics happening in that state.
Right. Quickly, the Punch newspaper also captured from the Metro page this very officer and the daughter. And so we're getting reports now that the boyfriend to the FRSC officer, Lasisi Fumlayo, and her daughter had been explained why, the suspects lured the deceased to their death in the hands of some herbalists in Osun State. The boyfriend, so-called boyfriend, who is 40 years old, was actually paraded alongside two herbalists and at the headquarters in Ijebu-Jesha in Osun State Glory. And it was gathered that, the 39-year-old and her daughter, that's the FRSC officer, they were declared missing in Ogun State, where also found dead with mutilated body parts at a suspected herbalist den in Osun, in what authorities suspect to be a ritual killing, side forward. But he's using his glory. I don't know.
His glory. We don't have any glory. It's just unfortunate, very sad story. Again, remember that there has been several reports, when this woman and the daughter first went missing. There were reports that, this FRSC official had gone missing with her daughter and that there was a search. The state police has issued a statement to talk about, this missing person with her daughter, and that this person who is now said to be her boyfriend, I think he was arrested somewhere in Ghana, if you remember a little more.
Yes.
He went all the way to Ghana. The Ghanaian police helped to track where he was hiding with a friend and then brought him back to the country. Now, the story is that, look, the man had lured her to somewhere in Osun State, Jebujesa. There was one cleric, Islamic cleric, that told him that the woman was using her destiny. So if the woman is using her destiny, the next thing, if it is true, even though it is ridiculous and stupid to begin to think that anybody can use anybody's destiny. Now, so the solution is to go and kill her with her daughter. So this is just all of the suspected ritual killing cases we've been reporting, we've been getting, happens amongst younger couples or younger lovers.
Right.
Maybe they are 20s. But we're talking about grown adults here. The other lady, the authorized official, I think is a single mother, was having a relationship with somebody who is in his 40s, only to go and kill her that way. Ritual killing. So there's a way the thing comes to you and you begin to wonder, how did we even get to this level? How did our value get so eroded to the point where there's no value for human life? There's this desperation for quick and easy money. And then where did we get it wrong to begin to believe that once you kill somebody, it will bring money? About Jᴏɪṛ, how did the whole thing start? To the point where people now continue to do it. It's just exciting.
It is.
We see, that in reading the papers, we reported several cases of boyfriends killing their lovers.
Right.
We lost count. This is another case, and this one is so sad because it is not just the woman that was killed, the daughter was also killed.
Innocent person. That is.
How athletes can people? Look, I read the story this morning. I'm like, this is sickening.
Just quickly, the Metro page of the Punch also giving us reports, updates about Mohbad's case. There's a support group, the Team Justice in Nigeria and the diaspora. They are criticizing the move of excluding the late singer's father from the ongoing DNA process to determine the paternity of his grandson. That's the grandson named Liam. The group are insisting that the father retains the legal right to oversee how the test is conducted, because he had disclosed in a viral video earlier that Mohbad will be buried once the DNA test is completed. And so the coordinator of this group said that there was no legal or moral basis for the government or any agency to take over the procedure or insist on state supervised sampling in what he described as a purely family initiated matter and all of that.
If it is true that the dead always look back to see what is happening after him or her, like what's going on. If it is true, what do you think? If Mohbad is looking back and looking at what has become of his family, the wife, the son, the position that his father is currently taking on this case of his death.
Right.
Because it's not that the entire way by which he even died has shown that there was a lot of things that are wrong about the guy.
Yeah.
From the people he was associating with, to even his family. There was a lot that was just wrong with this talented young man.
The controversies
that died in
death.
Controversies and a lot of things that were not just right. There was a lot of improper behavior, bad behavior around the people that were supposed to help him live a good life with all his talent. And after his death, the bad behavior still continues.
I don't know how he wants to rest.
I am sorry, I have a lot of reservations about the position his father is taking. The way he even carries himself after the death of his son. The way he positions himself, all of his attempts to suddenly become a music star. Like, for God's sake. But again, who are we to decide how the father wants to take the death of his son?
Right.
But I think that when Mohbad was alive, again, this is not to, go subdivisions on this case, but I think there's a legal part of it. There was never a time that Mohbad had questioned the paternity of his son. Was there a record that he questioned whether he was the owner of the child or not? And then they discovered that somebody was pregnant for him, and then he can begin to question the owner of the child.
Yeah.
But this guy was alive when they gave birth to the child. He accepted the child as his own. So where is this idea of questioning the paternity of the child coming from? He was alive when they gave birth to that boy. And if you look at this whole nonsense going on around the death of this young man, it is not anything different from the fact that people just want to control the little wealth he left behind. You know what he need?
Say it forward. Time is fast.
So a lot of irresponsible behavior just going on around the death of this young man. Up till now, they buried him, they exhumed him, they still not buried him as we are speaking.
Exactly. Well, Said Fad, we have to go. Thank you very much. That's in the Metro page of the Punch newspaper. Also, the business page is telling us that the CBN has put an end to the cash deposit limit for bank customers. So you can deposit any amount, but the weekly withdrawal still remains. The limit still remains the same. And also, the Vanguard had captured about the proposed budget in Ogun State, right? Abiodun had presented 1.67 trillion naira 2026 appropriation bill to Ogun Assembly. Somebody also proposed I think for over 4 trillion naira in November, the last month.
Lagos.
Yes.
It must be big. The budget must